Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Mario Chaos and the Kid Show. I'm your co-host, Mario Mancini. I'm a former WWE wrestler and co-instructor at Paradise Alley Professional Wrestling, along with Paul Roma, Paul Perez, and Big Steve Tracy. Seated to the right of me is the man that kicked out 2018 and brought in Baby New Year for 2019. He is the 2019 inductee into the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. And he is known as the Guardian of Chaos, Big Daddy.
Good evening. This PSA is brought to you by the Guardian of Chaos, and I tell it like it is. And it's entitled Balls Deep. I go balls deep when I'm with my girl. I got a long stroke, best in the world. Women come back because it feels so good. They call me Big Daddy, as well they should. Don't want to brag, but I got what it takes. I hit skins like I slam on brakes. I got a reputation in every town. Another like me just can't be found. It can't be wrong when it feels so right. I bust so hard, my balls get tight. They have a good time, these women of mine. I treat one special, damn, she's fine. A woman's body is a work of art. One stroke of her hand can melt your heart. I show much respect. I'm a gash-loving man. Just don't get cute. That I can't stand. Treated like a queen when we're out together. My home is my castle, my storm she'll weather. Hot food on the table, my floor she'll sweep. When we get between the sheets, I go balls deep. Mancini!
Big Daddy, you're a typical Shakespeare.
Well, thank you, Mancini. And I would like to welcome everybody here to the Diadamo and Tracy Bail-Bond studio at the Paradise Alley Professional Wrestling Training Facility. And seated to the left of me is a man who just went for his driver's test. He got 8 out of 10, Mancini. The other two guys jumped out of the way. And that is the Kid. How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing great, Big Daddy. How are you?
Well, I must say, we're a little, I know I started off with the lyrics in the poem, but we're
I need a copy of that.
Yeah, listen, you can get a copy of it. We'll throw that out there later. It will be available on Twitter, on YouTube, on whatever. But I don't want to talk about that anymore. I want to talk about something, Kid, as you well know. The passing of a legend in Mean Gene Okerlund. I want to bring in former WWF, WWE star, legend, New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame induction of Class 2014, Mario Mancini. Mario, it's a solemn day here on Mario Chaos and the Kid podcast, but it is a day of celebration. Mean Gene, and I'm going to let you take this over for a few minutes, my friend.
Well, we all are from the 80s, you know. Perez and I had the honor and privilege of knowing Gene Okerlund, having some words with him. And I remember the first time that I spoke to him was in Brantford, Ontario, actually. It was probably at the end of 84. And, you know, he cracked a joke, of course.
Of course.
He said, "Are you the main event tonight?" I go,
Mancini in the main event.
Yeah, I said, "Yeah, someday, Gene." And we just started talking, and I said, "You know, how many kids do you have and everything?" And we started talking about his son. His son was trying to become an NHL player. He's a hockey player. And over the years, we just, you know, we had laughs and conversations, and mostly about the wrestling business and his time in the AWA and how long he's known people. And you know, when you first coming into the WWF, it was always important, except for me because I was 18. It was important to make your to make your mark. To make your mark, meaning you want to go around to everybody, whether it was Jobber or Hulk Hogan, and let them know that, you know, you've been around, you know, and
it's respect, Mancini.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, I forgot who quoted today that they knew. I don't know if it was Jesse Ventura. It was Ric Flair. Ric Flair knew Gene since 1972. So he was definitely a veteran of the business, and he was a master at it. You know, in fact, it's been said that if a take was screwed up, it wasn't because of him.
Well, listen, Mean Gene Okerlund, obviously, when it comes to the broadcasting and commentary part of it, is a legend. He worked for, obviously, back to the 70s, like you said, Mario, at AWA, all the way into the 90s, WCW, and the old WWF. And you are correct about your homework, Mancini. Gene Okerlund's son did play hockey.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and Perez is the authority, I believe he played for the United States Olympic hockey team.
Right.
So very impressive. As you did, Mario, I listened to a bunch of stories today from Jerry King Lawler, Jim Ross, and just, Bubba Ray Dudley, just unbelievable on Busted Open Radio, the outpouring of Gene Okerlund. I mean, 76 years old. He let the good times roll, like JR said. He lived life to the fullest, Mancini. Did you ever have the opportunity, and I believe you did, back in the 80s, but in recent years also at the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, did you not have a nice, excellent, unbelievable conversation with Mean Gene?
Well, I was fortunate. To spend that time with him because it was either 2015 or 16 where he was being inducted into the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. So, and the hall was a lot smaller. So I was sitting there, and he took a seat next to me, and he slapped me on the leg. He goes, "What's going on, Mario?" "What's up, Gene?" So, we were just sitting there, just shooting the breeze, and it came time for him to get inducted. So he's like, "Oh, here comes my moment," and I'm like, "Okay." All right. So he gets up and he goes up and makes a speech, and it's on YouTube, so people can watch it. So he goes, this is such an honor. If they told me to come here, for free, I would have come here just to receive this honor. And he said, "Actually, that's a lie. If they didn't pay me, I wouldn't be in front of you right now today."
Listen, Mario, that's what a lot of the stars back from your era and current stars have said. Listen, Okerlund, from what I understand, I never had the honor to meet Mean Gene. Unfortunately, this summer coming up in 2019, I believe Joe Bruin's New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame and Fan Fest 7 were scheduled to have Mean Gene at the event.
Joe Bruin spoke to him at Christmas, and he was pumped up to come. In fact, Big Daddy, you and I had a conversation recently about how you wanted to meet him, and I had said to you, I said, "Big Daddy, I'll take you right to him, no problem."
Well, he was one of in this part of my career. He's one of my biggest influences, Mancini.
Yeah, I told you I'd take you right to him. So he comes back from me. Bruin almost threw me out of the ballroom. I mean, it just hit my funny bone. It just hit my funny bone just right. And so he came back and he sat down next to me, and he had the plaque on his lap, and I kind of looked down and looked at him, and I said, "It's a nice plaque you got there, Gene." And, the end just about got out of my mouth. I go, "It's a nice plaque you got there, Gene." He goes, "It'll be on eBay first thing in the morning."
Listen, and from what I understand, Mancini, that's what Mean Gene was all about. Like I said, let the good times roll, baby.
So that just struck me, and I just started laughing my ass off. And Ed Cohen was sitting next to me, and he was looking over at me. You know what I mean? He was in the office for what was called Titan Sports, the WWF back in the day.
In the 80s.
He worked in the office, so he was there to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. And he was just staring at me because I just laughed so hard because Gene, it was just the delivery was perfect. He's like, "Yeah, it'll be on eBay first thing in the morning." I just started laughing so hard. I looked back at Bruin, and Bruin was glaring at me, you know what I mean? Because I was bellowing, laughing.
Well, like you said, Joe Bruin is akin to Vince McMahon for All Access Entertainment and the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. Let me tell you this, Mancini. The good Lord at the pearly gates right now has his hands full. Gorilla Monsoon, Bobby the Brain Heenan, and now Mean Gene Okerlund. My friend, that makes me look forward to someday joining that. Because that's, in all seriousness, legends and the boys, the band, is back together. So this is a celebration. What Mean Gene did, and I know you and Perez could vouch for this, he was the best at putting other people over. He made Savage and Hogan and Orndorff and all those guys shine when it came to promos. That's what I remember from the 80s. He was the best at putting people over. He was an unbelievable storyteller. And he was one of the guys that led the revolution in the early 80s to head from the AWA over to the WWF with your good friend, Dr. D. David Schultz, Jesse the Body Ventura, Hulk Hogan, all those guys. So, I mean, it's a sad day. The tributes were unbelievable today for Mean Gene, and I know that
he
you had
made every
major
newspaper, news stations. I mean, it was major news.
Well, speaking of major news, because we have a personal connection because of your connection to Mean Gene through the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. Two other legendary people also passed away, and I find this awfully ironic, Mancini. I don't always get serious here. I like to keep the chicanery rolling. We're all about chaos, and Super Dave Osborne.
That's very upsetting.
Also passed within the last 48 hours.
That was one funny human being.
Now, I know the kid doesn't know who Super Dave Osborne is. For all the fans out there in this YouTube, Why Me, or whatever generation, 18 to 25, Dave Osborne was a comedian, Mancini, second to none.
Listen, I really enjoyed his stuff on Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Recently that's what he was on, was Curb Your Enthusiasm.
I really love that.
What was his character's name on Curb Your Enthusiasm?
I don't know.
That's an unbelievable show. But him as Super Dave Osborne, also Mancini. And listen, they say it comes in threes. God rest his soul, Mean Gene Okerlund. Super Dave Osborne, both gentlemen at 76. Here's a third one. The captain from Captain and Tennille, and I believe, if I got this right, Double D, Daryl Dragon, also passed away at 76 years old. Three legends, music, comedy, professional wrestling, 76 years old, and they all passed within 48 hours, Mancini. What is your take on this?
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind, Big Daddy, is how fortunate I am to have my father until 89.
Absolutely, Mancini.
You know what I mean? So that really hits home.
That's amazing. What a life.
Yeah,
it's
how you
unbelievable.
can 4 months shy of 90. So, my dad passed away when I was 49 years old. I had my dad till I was 49, and at 76, I would have been 36. So, I feel very fortunate about that. I don't, It's all how you lived your life. You know what I mean?
Well, like JR said today, Mancini, on Busted Open Radio, he said that him at 67 and recently lost his wife and has gone through his own health issues. Mean Gene has lit a fire with JR. He still wants to stay in the game. And right up until 76 years old, Mean Gene, and you know this firsthand, he was very competitive. He loved this business, and he still wanted to be in the game.
Oh, yeah.
He was truly one of the boys.
Right, he was.
And JR said the same thing today about the passion for life at 67 years old and moving forward and a model of, and he's going to live every day, as we all should, to its fullest, because that's what Gene taught to him. And just the outpouring, and listen, like you always say, Mancini, salt of the earth human being.
Yeah.
And I'm saddened, and this is kind of selfish. I get it. I apologize for it. I'm very sad that I didn't get the opportunity to be with him this summer.
Well, listen, I
would have been very humbling.
Joe Bruin and he got a hold of me last night, and he was on the super ticket. So he's like, geez, we got to replace the super ticket, So, in fact, I have a call to Joe Bruin tonight at about 8 o'clock, so...
we may still be on the air at 8 o'clock, Mancini.
You'll be still on the air at 8 o'clock.
Mancini, we have a lot of things to go over tonight, which leads me into the next segment here on Mario Chaos Podcast, featuring the kid. And members of the Cream Team are in attendance here from UB. Open Table Sports Podcast. I'm not quite sure what they're doing right now. I believe they are in the men's latrine, and I will not discuss what they are doing. But Mancini, I know you have a pretty serious issue with Paradise Alley Professional Wrestling that you want to address right now. So I'm going to tone it down, and once again, this may be the quietest Chaos has ever been on this podcast. You have a statement And I think a lot of people are going to be interested in hearing this. Because I know Maria Manic does. I know that.
Well, a lot of people in the wrestling industry, Big Daddy, because of our history, because of, the 31 years now, 2019, 31 years I'm going on with Perez, and the 34 years in OU. I've been in I'm going on my 35th year in this business, and I'm happy to say that my reputation in the professional wrestling business is impeccable.
Exemplary, I would say.
So if you go around the people, if you go up to Tito Santana, you go up to Tony Atlas, you go up to King Kong Bundy, you go up to these guys and go Mario Mancini, the first thing you're going to see on their face is a huge smile. And say, oh, my God, how's Mario doing? I have a really good reputation. I've been teaching since 1985. So, and the 84, 85, because after I became a pro, Tony Altomar liked to take a couple of powders with his girlfriend. So,
Mancini, are you insinuating he might have been balls deep?
And I'd end up taking over the classes and stuff. So, and by 1989... I took the school over completely, and so 89 to 92, and now I'm here with Paul Roma, who's also had an impeccable reputation in the wrestling business.
No one to be trifled with, a legit badass.
Right, impeccable reputation being a professional in this wrestling business, and he's one of my partners, and Perez obviously is a partner, a part owner,
second-generation grappler.
And you know what? I'll say this with Perez about him sitting right here. I mean, in the years that I've known him, if in a year, if you got more than 100 words out of him, that was a lot. Perez.
Well, that's the truth.
Perez will give you enough conversation with the look on his face. You know what I mean? He keeps to himself. He doesn't say much.
He's kind of like a ninja.
You really got to go overboard and get him pissed in order for him to come out. You know what I mean?
Don't play Michael Bolton.
Play my Michael Bolton. Listen, Michael Bolton is the greatest entertainer that ever lived.
All right, let's not get off the track, Mancini.
So, and then there's Big Steve Tracy that I've known for 32 years.
Steve Tracy.
He is the backbone of Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling, and all four of us, have been good friends for years, and we pride ourselves on teaching these kids that are here, about 25 of them on the roster, how to conduct yourself in the wrestling business, and they benefit a lot from that because we learn how to conduct ourselves in the wrestling business from the WWF. When you're sitting home and you get the mail and you get a letter from Titan Sports and it's not your paycheck because you already got your paycheck. It's not your paycheck, and you open it up, and it's a letter from Vince McMahon that says, from now on, you're wearing blazers to the arena. And his last sentence said, if the NFL can do it, we can do it. So, we being raised in the pro wrestling business by Chief Jay Strongbow, who was a strict disciplinarian with me, and taught me how to conduct myself in the wrestling business. We pass this on to our students, and they take to it, and they become consummate professionals, and they know how to conduct themselves in and outside the ring and represent themselves. Every now and then, you get a bad apple, and we did have one a couple of years ago who had a lack of respect, and we had to eject from the school. We recently had a student that from Jump Street, we knew there was something a little off.
Hold on. Give me 30 seconds. You know that I've been in this business 30 or 35 years. I worked for every fucking independent promotion in this fucking country. For every asshole promoter, for every scumbag, douchebag, piece of fucking shit that you can imagine. As far as indie groups, as far as organizations all over this fucking country for years. And I can say this, and I'll say that to say this. Paradise Alley Professional Wrestling, Paul Roma, Mario Mancini, Paul Perez, Big Steve Tracy, and everybody involved that I've encountered in the last 3 years with Paradise Alley Professional Wrestling are the most respectful, courteous, professional organization, group of people, family-oriented, that I could ever imagine meeting in my life. I spent 25 years in the prison. I know every scumbag in this fucking country and work for every loser promotion that you can think of. So if anybody knows, it's me, and I tell it like it is. That's the moniker. And that's what I want to get across to people. I can vouch for that in all seriousness. Who you are, what you guys are, what Paradise Alley's all about, what we're all about, before you get on to what you're going to say. Because I know, I understand, I lived it. So with that being said, go ahead, Mancini. That was my point. Go ahead. Thank you.
We knew from Jump Street that there was a problem. But, guys, I'm the kind of person, I'm like you, Big Daddy. I tell it like it is. And I've done a lot of podcasts, and I'm very candid on my podcasts about what happened in the 80s with wrestling and the scandals and the sex scandals and, how you had what you had to do to get ahead and things that I wasn't.
The cream team.
Yeah, things I wasn't willing to do. However, that being said, if that's somebody's orientation and they choose to do that, that's none of my business. You know what I mean? On the flip side of that. But going back to this particular person,
This is currently, correct?
Yeah.
Currently at Paradise Alley Professional Wrestling.
I mean, this week at Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling.
Break it down.
So, I have been diagnosed by professionals as an empath. You know what I mean? So, and it's exhausting, to be honest with you. It really is exhausting because you're taking all this stuff in all the time.
That's one hell of a word.
Well, you're taking everything in all the time, and everything's bouncing off you and coming into you, and you get tired sometimes, but I digress. So I knew something was a little off. I thought maybe the background, some misguided parental guidance in this person's life, the lack of some parental relationships in her life, really has affected her personal life. And what I try to do with people, and I've been successful on doing this, especially with younger kids that come here with parents who have behavioral problems, I say, look, when we're done with them, they'll be a different person.
And that's what I'm talking about. That's what you guys do,
That's
Mancini.
what we
That's
do.
what Paradise Alley does.
We do.
Go ahead, continue.
So I worked very hard, and I would like it mentioned that in the beginning it was very hard for this person to get along with the group.
The family.
The family here at Paradise Alley, the group. So I offered to teach this person one-on-one private lessons.
Unbelievable.
Every Thursday, and I did that for about a month. And I have to say that this person who's spreading rumors about Paradise Alley on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and reposting things in a chat, they have nothing to say about being one-on-one with me in an empty building with nobody else around teaching them for 3 hours at a time. You know why? Because I'm not inappropriate. Now, Big Daddy, for years, and if this is what this person has to hang her hat on, God bless her. You know what I mean? Because, listen, I belong to the American Powerlifting Association from 1988 to 1992. Okay? I was a competitive powerlifter, and man or woman, anytime they come up to me and go, I'm thinking about powerlifting. I'm thinking about doing really heavy squats, wide. I'll look at man or woman and say, you realize your ass is going to get huge. I say that. Now, on the other hand...
Well, apparently everybody's listening.
On the other hand, when a female wrestler, and I was talking to Jade about this today, because I give every female...
Would that be Allison Jade?
Allison Jade.
Excellent worker. Former Paradise Alley Women's Champion.
Yeah, now listen.
Okay.
I give every single female since the 80s the same speech. Listen, if you're going to be a female wrestler, okay, and you're talking about the average wrestling fan, of course when you come out, they want to see somebody really attractive. All right, they want to see somebody that they can buy a poster.
That looks the part.
Yeah, they want to buy a poster and hang it up on their wall at home. You know what I mean? They want the fantasize. There's one thing Tony Altomare told me about pro wrestling, and he tried to tell me that about my body. And when I was 17 years old, right? And I wish I had to do it all over again. I always say, if I were, what would you do differently in your career? I said I would have trained at a gym where the ring wasn't. You know what I mean? Because you'd work out.
Well, because you were attracted to that ring, Mancini.
You'd be a half hour into your workout, and you'd drop the weights and start hitting the ropes. So Mario Mancini didn't look like Paul Roma. So,
well, nobody does, Mancini.
Nobody
does.
That was a bad example. Nobody looked like Roma, right? So I tell them, it's important because Tony Altomare said to me when I was 17, he said, see, kid, what you have to accomplish when you walk to the ring and get in that ring, that guy that's in the front row with his wife and 2 kids, who the most exciting thing he does is take them out for hot dogs and chocolate milk on Sunday, he has to look at you in the ring and go, God, I wish I was that guy. God, I wish I was that guy.
And everybody did, including myself. Mancini.
So for a female wrestler, every guy, whatever the age demographic is, 15 to 25, when she walks out there, that has to be their girlfriend in their head,
Well,
she's
hold on to that point, because we have someone here. We have the demographic that you're talking about. And that student that you're talking about, I'm assuming, is in the demographic between 18 and 25?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a couple of people here in the crowd, and the kid himself, the authority,
is 19.
Who's 19, who's more mature and respectful than any 19-year-old I've ever met in my life, and that comes from his parents.
So let's go to the kid.
Let's ask him.
Kid, let me ask you something. If you see a wrestling card and you see Jane Doe against Jenny Doe on a wrestling card, you're anticipating to see what these women look like,
it's
right?
The looks, yeah.
All right. So
when the music hits,
when Jenny Doe walks out, she's 5'3", 246 pounds. What's your opinion?
I mean, I'm not going to have too much, physical reaction to it.
Right,
yeah.
right. And if you see Jenny Doe on another card that you're thinking about buying tickets to,
I'm not going to want to see that.
And then Jane Doe comes out, and she looks like Maria Manick. You know what?
Maria Manick is very impressive.
You're gonna say, where's she wrestling next? And you know what? It's all about entertainment in the business. It's just like Hollywood. Hollywood takes Angelina Jolie and puts her in a picture because she doesn't exactly haunt houses. It's entertainment. If you don't want to be judged,
that was good, Mancini.
If you don't want to be judged, don't get in the entertainment business. Let me tell you something. I've gotten my heart broken. I separated my shoulders 14 times. But one of the times I separated it was really bad. And I kept eating and I couldn't lift weights. And they flew me all the way to Vegas. All the way to Vegas to wrestle at UNLV. And Vince took one look at me and looked at Strongbow and said, don't put him on. He gained too much weight.
I love Vegas.
Okay. All right. So it happens with men and women. And believe me when I tell you, I went to Roma in 3 weeks. I took 31 pounds off in 3 weeks.
Well, Mancini, back in the late 80s, early 90s, before we get back to this student, you were in tremendous shape.
Well, late 80s, early 90s, I got my act together. So my talk is it's good to have them want you when you walk out. Mm-hmm. So being a female wrestler is 50-50. And this is what I mean by 50-50. You have to have the look. But in our wrestling school, at Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling, the goal is this. Even if you're out there with a thong on, and once that bell rings, I want those fans to say, my God, she could wrestle.
Well, she better be able to work, right. No matter what you look like.
My God, she's mechanically sound. She's a wrestler. That's my goal, 50-50. I don't want somebody that is just... that looks like that they're in a beauty contest. They come out there, they hit the ropes gingerly, they jump around and scream and go back to the dressing room. That is not pro wrestling. I want them to be craftsmen. I want them to be excellent professional wrestlers.
Like Tessa Blanchard
right.
or Asuka
I want
or
them to be
someone like that. Becky Lynch.
I want them scientifically sound in the ring.
Correct.
So 50%, being attractive, and 50% knowing your stuff in the ring. And, listen, I would say that to anybody. You want to power lift, your butt's going to get huge. You know what I mean? And that was one of my communications with this person. She says, I want to power lift. And I said, I used to belong to the American Powerlifting Association from 88 to 92. I said, that bubble's going to get big. I said, boy, the fans are going to really hate that. That was, you know what I mean, attractive to the fans, the wrestling business.
Well, you got to put, so to
Big
speak,
Daddy,
asses in the seats.
Well, you got to sell tickets. And I'm so angry about it because I made no personal comment to myself about her or of myself about her. It was strictly about pro wrestling, her physical appearance. And now, she's spreading all this stuff. And it's upsetting. And she was a handful from day one. I mean, I treated this person with kid gloves. I could not have bent over backwards more to try to get her along.
Now, Mario, I'm not familiar with this student. How many incidents, in your opinion, was this student involved with down here at the facility with other workers, peers, instructors?
There were.
I'm not sure.
There were 2 incidents, but there were a handful of. When I say there was a few incidents where she's walked out. All right, she's walked out or has gotten very rude, but there were more than enough incidents where she was just plain rude. And disrespectful. And Jade experienced one. And while she's doing this, I'm holding my breath. Now,
she's lucky. She's lucky she didn't piss off Allison Jade.
Well, let me tell you something.
Don't start pissed off.
No, listen. She got a little.
It's not the time for it.
She got a little snip, and Allison looked over at me, and I warned her before she came down. I said, she's coming down to help you. She's coming down to help you. I said, she's the sweetest girl. She is a consummate professional. She does
trained by Paul Roma.
Right. She is a professional. She's coming down to help you. If you cross her, she's going to beat the shit out of you. You know what I mean?
Well, Allison's no joke.
She's no joke. She's not that perfume, high heel, dainty.
Oh, an attractive lady, but no one to mess with.
Listen to me. She is the most complex wrestler you ever wanted to lay eyes on because you look at her and you see a halo around her head. If you look at her,
she's very easy on the eyes.
Yeah, if you look at her and you see her smile, you go, "Oh, she'll rip your spine."
I agree, Mancini.
So I bent over backwards, and like I said to all the guys today, I said, look, if that's all she has to hang her hat on, that I said her butt's going to get big. And I mentioned a story about a wrestler that worked for us who lost her top in the ring. And sometimes I should.
So you pulled no punches with this person from the rip. Am I right about that?
Right. So when I told her that story, though, I should have been more detailed because I said I was so mad that I missed it. The reason why I was mad I missed it wasn't because I couldn't see her with her top off. I would have liked to see the crowd's response.
Kind of like the Janet Jackson wardrobe malfunction with Justin Timberlake.
I would have liked to see the crowd response because where we stand as agents of Paradise Alley to watch this show to make sure everything's going okay. She lost her top facing the opposite direction, so I wouldn't have seen it anyway. But I would have got the crowd's reaction.
Oh, of course it
would.
But
she finds pleasure in snapping that, taking a picture of that and posting it, that I was mad that I missed it. I wasn't mad that I missed it. And I have a lot of respect for the woman who lost her top, and she's sweet as pie. And I feel bad because when she sees me, she goes, Roman doesn't like me. Well, it's not that Roman doesn't like her, but I like her a lot. She's very sweet, and it's not that I'm a 52-year-old man who's been married 3 times, and I've been on the road for the WWF for 8 years. I'm never going to have a midnight life crisis. I'm not out there with my tongue hanging out. I don't have a problem getting women.
Well, that's for sure.
So I didn't say, I'm sorry I missed it because my tongue was hanging out. I would have liked to see the crowd's response. Well, that being said, this particular person that I was trying to rope in here and kind of contain her, she went off on the LGBTQ community.
Not a good thing, Mancini, because those people are no one to be trifled with. They're all good friends of ours.
They are. And
as with any orientation, religion, race, culture, creed, would be protective.
I tell you what, for me in my whole life, and you said it before on the last show or the show before that, Big Daddy, I don't give a damn.
That's not what I said.
If you're,
that's not what I said.
You probably said I don't give a fuck.
Kids, say it.
I don't give a fuck.
That's what I said.
If you're black, white, yellow, green, purple, straight, gay, bi.
Mancini, we have made that crystal clear throughout our careers.
The only thing that matters is in a person is how's your heart? Where's your heart?
Respect and loyalty. Not even loyalty. Respect.
Yeah.
Like Paul Perez just shouted, can you work?
Can you work? In the wrestling business, it's can you work? You know what I mean? So, it doesn't matter. It's what kind of heart do you have? What kind of human being do you have? And, it's like one of my favorite people is Mark Adam Haggerty. And I remember being
great person.
I remember being at the Mohegan Sun, and he was upset because, somebody outed him. And before he could come out himself. And, I remember I gave him a big hug. I said, listen, it doesn't matter. Mark, it doesn't matter. You're the person you are, and that's what matters, And,
listen, I agree with that, Mancini. Mark Adam Haggerty's one of the nicest guys I ever met. Who gives a fuck about his personal preferences in his life? That's nobody's business.
The guy's a genuine, outstanding human being.
Diamond in the rough, super talented.
I could care less. So the problem with this is I'm looking at this what's called thread. Actually, Roma's phone started going off like a pinball machine late at night, and he got a hold of me. And he started screenshotting things to me, and I said, what is this? So I went on the thread, and rightfully so, people were very angry. I was very angry.
Including Maria Manic.
Yeah, I was very angry and very appalled because, everybody knows me, right? But there are things in my life that or people in my life that people don't know, like my niece Christina, okay, who's been in a long-term relationship with her girlfriend. My niece Christina is the kindest person you ever wanted to meet, and all she wants to do is laugh. They don't know about my nephew who took an entire bottle of 100 Excedrin at the age of 26 years old because he was a transgender and he changed his name to a woman's name. And the scrutiny
it's very unfortunate.
And the judgment that he went through was so intense that he took his own life. These are things that I really don't talk about naturally, you know what I mean? But so this hits home with me.
Now,
and
I found out the LGBT community. What?
And I
should I even bring this up?
And I found out she's got a problem. She's got a problem with fat people too, which really hit home with me.
Well, obesity too. But
you're
preaching to the choir here.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, what the hell is that anyway? So
let's wrap this up like a bow because we're giving this person way too much time.
No, we're not because we're not mentioning any names.
Well, that's true. Very true.
What I want to do is take the time because I started reading the thread. And that community said, well, what's Paradise Alley going to do about this? And what kind of organization is Paradise Alley? And I'm thankful, and I'm not going to say his name on the air because I didn't get permission from him first, but I was thankful that I spoke to this gentleman today.
Well, you are litigious.
I spoke to this gentleman today, and I said, I mentioned the charities that we've worked for. We've done wrestling shows for, and Paradise Alley mainly does wrestling shows for charities.
Nonprofits, correct?
Right. So he said, no, Mario, I did my homework. I Googled your company. we basically are the flagship wrestling company to do wrestling shows for charity.
Well, and here's the word, Mancini. As you are, as Paul Perez is, as I consider myself, a philanthropist,
right,
my friend. And make no mistake about that. That's the accurate word.
Of course, everybody knows how I am. So these people, the number one thing I felt, of course, and I feel everything, is as I read this thread, they were so hurt. I mean, they were angry, but they were hurt. And you know what? Nothing's worse than a shitty person hurting people for no reason. So I did what I thought was the best and right thing to do. And on April 13th, 2019, we are going to the Strand Theater in Seymour. I signed the contract today. I sent the check for the venue in. And we are doing a wrestling show on the 13th of April in Seymour at the Strand Theater, and we are giving a portion of the proceeds to the LGBT community.
Mancini, that is unbelievable. Are you telling me not only is it a benefit for the LGBT community, but it's going to be at the classic, historic venue on Main Street in Seymour?
That's right.
The Strand Theater. You know how long? In the All-American Valley. And I was told by you that the name of the show for this fundraiser and for this Paradise Alley professional wrestling event is Judgment Free. Am I correct?
Judgment Free, yeah.
Well, how apropos, Mancini. And see, this is what people don't understand. Listen, Mario Chaos and the Kid podcast, all the different things that we do, people don't get it. It's a fucking work. And if you don't understand that and you don't get it, then I don't understand what you're doing. But when it comes down to being real people and being real like this and stepping out of the character, this is what the company's all about, and this is what we do, Mancini.
No, Big Daddy, there's no question that we do this podcast, and we are not who we are.
Correct.
Because there's 100 years between all three of us here, me, you, and Perez.
Well,
and
we come on 160.
Here, we come on here in the middle of the week of our hectic life, not to be ourselves and to joke around and kid around and swear and make jokes and everything.
And
but
to entertain people.
Right. But this here, the only thing I could tell you is this. After I made that announcement, to see the positive responses from them and the thanks from them.
I'm amazed, Mancini.
Just filled my heart like you wouldn't believe, and made me so happy that I was able to take a shitty situation from a shitty person and put smiles back on their face. And I can't, Big Daddy, we've had a lot of fun at wrestling shows.
We certainly have.
This show is going to be a ball because, listen, this show's about diversity. Okay?
I love it, Mancini. I love it.
We're booking little people. We're booking little
Mighty
people.
Minis?
Yeah, little people.
Excellent.
We're booking little people. We're going to have a girls' match.
Excellent.
And we're booking this guy, Damien, who comes out in drag. And I've gotten a hold of a wrestling organization in New York that the whole organization is all about diversity, in New York.
Fantastic.
So I have my feelers out to them because I get a couple of their workers to work the show too. And I also got a hold of, I let this gentleman know, very nice guy. He loved my stories. He said, Mario, I got another meeting. He goes,
well,
man, I could stand all night. Because
you're very engaging, Mancini.
I was telling him Chief Jay Strongbow stories. So, I reached out, and I want to make this as fun as possible. And I just want to listen. Here's the bottom line. In law, and let me just explain. This is the boring part. In law,
Kid, are you still with us, Kid?
In law,
The kid is with us.
In law, it's called respondeat superior.
I love when you talk about the law, Mancini.
Put your pants back on, Big
In
Daddy.
law, it's called
Hey, whoa!
In law, it's called respondeat respondee superior, and that means an employer is responsible for the torts of the wrongful acts of their employee. So the sad part about that is, you got a company that has 500 employees, and say they have 250 truck drivers, and they're out there on the road, and they can't watch them all the time. And other legal terms, believe it or not, they're on a frolic or a detour that doesn't concern their employment. That employer is responsible for what they're doing unless they can prove it was a frolic and a detour and was outside the scope of their employment.
I like the word frolic.
Well, it's kind of the same thing here where, you know what, I'm not home with this person and I'm not on their phone and computer with them. And my chin dropped and I had no idea she was going to go off like she did for no apparent reason that I can think of.
Especially after, apparently, from what I understand, Paradise Alley and yourself personally bent over backwards.
Right.
And there's no fucking pun intended there.
Right. So it's like, I'm not there to see this. And the only thing I could do as one of the owners of this company and consult with my partners, I didn't have to consult with my partners on this, because if I said, Perez, this is what she did, what he thinks, he'd go, you can't get rid of her. You know what I mean? So
what did Roma and Big Steve say? If you can be privy, Mancini, listen, it is what it is. We're 45 minutes in now, Mancini.
Well, listen, Big Steve was perplexed on why she would do something like this. And this is a high-profile individual with Big Steve Tracy. I mean, he doesn't know hundreds of people; he knows thousands. And this is
a benevolent, great man. I don't make no mistake about it.
Listen, I don't want to piss him off, but I don't want to make him angry because he's a religious guy. I don't want to make him angry. But the guy that I work for at the law firm, I've known for this is going on 27 years now, and he's a very close friend of mine. And Paul Roman, Paul Perez are very, as well as you, Big Daddy. Big Steve is my best friend. And he is the closest human being to me. Might as well have the same blood running through our veins.
Very impressive person.
And when I tell you the things he does that he doesn't even tell anybody, every homeless person he goes by, he goes in his pocket. Let me tell you something. I was at...
That's why, Mario, this is stuff that you don't even need to say.
Listen, I'm just going to tell one story about him.
Sure, absolutely. Listen, we got nothing but time. We're here till midnight tonight.
Listen, I really don't care. I'm gonna say one story about him because I was there, and thankfully there's some comic relief to it too. So
thank the Lord.
We're at the Our Lady of Pompeii Carnival about 5 or 6 years ago in East Haven, and they have a wheel. Okay.
Our Lady of Pompeii is a legendary church in this area.
It is. So they have a wheel, right? So Steve puts $1 on a number, $5 on a number. Number comes out. They pay him. Well, I'm going to make a long story short. I swear to you, every number that he put his money on came out. So I rode his coattails. So I took a 5 out and put it on top of his 5. And the number didn't come out. And he goes, Mancini, don't let your money touch mine. Don't even put it down on the table.
So what are you saying? You're like the mush in the Bronx Tale? As a matter of fact, not to get off the rails here, that's what we were going to do to fucking Angelo, a.k.a. Angelo, who's in the crowd. We were going to throw him in the bathroom. Perez said, put the towel over his face. I don't want to see his face.
Get your money off of mine. You're bad luck, right? I swear to you, I put my money back in my pocket. He put his money on another number. It came out.
Unbelievable.
Well, the end of the story is this. The people working the wheel had to go to the game behind them to get money because he wiped them out. He took all their money. So
he did that at the Mohegan Sun also for All or Nothing and Crazy Eights.
Right. So now he plays one last time and he wins again. He's got over $400 in front of him. He pushes it toward the person working the game, and he goes, thanks. I had a lot of fun. And he goes, Big Steve, what are you doing? That's your money. He goes, I can't take the money from the church. That's ridiculous. I had fun. That was enough. Keep the money. And he walked away.
Hey, listen, and I'll give you a short story quickly. Just recent. Big Steve doesn't really know my family that well, although he knows me and his family knows me, his son Joey, the whole 9 yards. When my nephew was getting married and the stag that my family threw, who were one of the first two guys that showed up, bought raffle tickets, paid to get in, threw their money around like they were drunken sailors in Las Vegas or San Diego? Mario Mancini and Big Steve Tracy, and you didn't even know these people. Yeah, you know me. You had no obligation.
We love you, Big Daddy. So you know.
So, to your point,
you know, and that's the thing in this wrestling school. It's not like everybody comes here for their own benefit and for themselves. There's a lot of love in this wrestling school. There's a lot of respect in this wrestling promotion,
certainly is.
And there's a lot of pride here.
Certainly is.
And you know, I don't understand. And like I said, I can't be with her at home. I don't know the reason why she lashed out like that to innocent people.
Several times.
So, and the things she said were, and this is another word that's mainly used in contract law. It was unconscionable what she did. Unconscionable means something, an event that will shock the conscience.
You sound like Judge Judy.
Listen,
right
what she did was despicable, unconscionable. It was horrible. And I feel horrible because, you know, I have 3 daughters, 32, 23, and 12. All I know how to do is to raise daughters. I don't know what it's like to raise a son. And I know how protective. And as Allison Jade, Allie, who used to come here, okay, Christina Marie.
Deonna Purrazzo. Who's worked for you before.
Deonna Purrazzo. What do all these...
Ivelisse Velez.
What do all of these female wrestlers call me? They call me Pops.
They call you Pop like we used to call Afa from the Wild Samoans.
They call me Pop.
Correct.
Okay, so to say I'm inappropriate with a female wrestler is absolutely asinine and ridiculous.
Well, let's hold on to this. Let's ask Tequila Rose. Let's ask Allison Jade. Let's ask Deonna Purrazzo, Christina Marie, Candy Cartwright, Maria Manic, Ivelisse Velez. I can go on and on and on for the female talent that has stepped into the ring for Paradise Alley Professional Wrestling. Go ask one of them what it was like to work with Paradise Alley Professional Wrestling.
Right. So it's like, you know, and to say stuff about Big Steve and to say something about Roma, who is absolutely dedicated to his wife and kid like you wouldn't believe. You know what I mean? His main concern in his life is just a dirty way to play. It's just
That's unfortunate,
it's a
Mancini.
dirty
It really
thing
is.
to do. And she's trying to hurt a lot of good people, but it's going to bite her in the ass. But I haven't.
Karma's a bitch,
Listen,
Mancini.
Big Daddy,
Isn't that the cliche?
I haven't played dirty. I have all the screenshots.
No need to play dirty,
she
brother.
Said about all these people. I have all the screenshots.
Listen, in my opinion, Paradise Alley doesn't need to play dirty.
But when I have
need to.
When I have Holiday calling me, going, you know, what's going on? JT Dunn's getting a hold of me. I'm like, you know, and then I'm on the phone with, I'm texting JT. I did send JT a couple of screenshots, and he sent the eyes with the emoji with the eyes bugging out with the WTF.
Listen, nobody more professional than the pro wrestling savior, JT Dunn.
I said, I don't know what to tell you, JT. She just went off the rails. You know what I mean? So the thing.
Wow. I didn't realize this blew up like this, Mancini.
Oh no, it's bad.
Kid, are you aware of this situation?
I'm aware
serious.
now.
You know, it gives me still a lot of joy to see. I mean, they're really looking forward to this. I invited them to January 26th, and some of them are coming.
Speaking of January 26th, that is at Joseph Malillo Middle School, January 26th. Am I correct?
It is.
For New Year's Retribution. Go ahead, Mancini.
So I invited them to the 26th, and there's a few coming. I feel bad because there's a lot of people that got excited about what we're doing for the LGBTQ. There's a lot that are excited about it, but they're in Central New York, and they're like, yeah, we can't make it, which makes me want to, hitch the trailer on the truck and go up there someday.
And do a show up there.
Yeah.
Either way, April 13th.
The only thing about New York is I think we gotta get a license. We gotta deal with the athletic commission.
The New York State Athletic Commission is no joke.
Yeah, right. So it's like, I'm excited about this show, and we're really
judgment free.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to it. So right now, Paradise Alley is booked. January 26th, February 23rd, March 23rd, and April 13th.
All right, now that we've done wasting everybody's fucking time talking about this person, okay? I know you had to get the message out there.
One thing I'd like to say.
Listen, let me say it was a waste of fucking time, not for you, but for everybody else to put up with some shit like this, man.
It's been very stressful, and I got to tell you, Big Daddy, I've gotten no work done at my job. Yeah. It's been very stressful, but what I would like to say right now, and I know she'll agree with me because I'll send her this podcast. She'll agree with me. It was several years ago because I pride myself on having an eye. And it's a shame because, I'm the one that said, you know what, Holiday, you got the goods. You're going to go. And he will go to the WWE.
No two ways about it.
He will. And I told this particular individual that went off the rails, I said, listen, I don't say this to many people, but you got the goods. I mean,
so a talented athlete.
Oh, she hit the ropes better than a lot of guys I see.
Unfortunate.
I mean, very sad. But another person that I saw several years ago, which I knew had the goods too, was Maria Manick. And after what you told me Maria posted on social media today, I always wanted to book Maria Manick, always. And I know, and sadly, when I was doing another talk show, I made it publicly known that I wanted to book Maria. I wanted to make Maria Manick.
Incredible athlete.
I wanted to make Maria Manick our champion. And unfortunately, I said that on a talk show. So this one individual that owns a large wrestling company, snatched her up and said, you're going to work for me, but if you ever work for them, you'll never work for me again. And I had inboxed her, and I said, listen, the only reason why he's doing this is because he knew I wanted you to work for us, and he's only going to use you half a dozen times, enough to get you away from me, and he won't use you again. And you know what? I was absolutely right. He doesn't use her anymore. So,
well, guess what? She didn't need him in the long run.
No. So if Maria Manick is still out there and she's active, and
she's out there,
wrestling.
Mario. She's active and she's unbelievable.
Listen, I have to check my Facebook because I haven't seen anything from her in a long time.
Listen, Mark Adam Haggerty tweeted something today. Maria Manick also did. I follow her career. She's on YouTube. She's very active for several organizations, and she is unbelievable.
Well, I know for a while she started powerlifting.
Yes, she is powerlifting.
She started powerlifting, and it looked like she was really, her body changed, obviously. Like I always state, your body's going to change.
Yeah, you know what I would love to see? Maria Manick versus Christina Marie.
Yeah, so.
Holy cramoly.
Right, so I haven't seen her on Facebook lately. I have to see if we're still friends, and I'll inbox her. I still would like us to work for us. And after the stance that she took
Paradise Alley and defended them.
You're right. It's still an open
through Mark Adam Haggerty,
right?
Our good friend.
It's still an open invitation for Maria Manick to come to Paradise Alley.
Well, I hope she listens to this podcast and everyone understands that Mario Mancini, the kid and the guardian of chaos, it's a work. Tonight, it's half work, and we're serious as you couldn't believe what we're talking about here. So people have to realize that. I can't stress that enough to family, friends, people in this business. They can't seem to separate the two, Mancini, on what's real and what's a work because they're not from this business. They don't have our history.
No.
So with that being said.
Back to the chicanery, Big Daddy.
Again, very sincere out there about Maria Manic, too, because she's no one to be trifled with. But we're over an hour here because we had a lot to talk about. I want to briefly, before we get out of here, run down a couple of things about Paradise Alley. I want to give the kid a couple of minutes because there's a huge show this weekend coming up. Not this weekend because you guys got me last week. January 5th or 6th, I believe. Kid, 5th or 6th?
6th. January
6th. Impact is having homecoming from the Asylum in Nashville, Tennessee. So before we talk about that, coming up January 11th, not next Friday, the Friday after, right here, January 11th, Paradise Alley Professional Wrestling presents Friday Night Alley Fights. January 25th, we have the big event here for Friday Night Alley Fights, Free for All. That means free, folks. And then January 26th, as Mancini said, Retribution at Melillo. We already announced all the other shows, especially the big one on April 13th. So I wanted to get Paradise Alley out there first. 11th, 25th here at the facility, 26th at Melillo, February, March, huge show in April. Talk about, and then I think I have a couple of notes. I don't know what the hell Angelo is doing over there. What's he doing in the ring? If Roma sees Angelo in the ring, or Angelo as Mancini, he will kick the fucking shit out of him.
Big Daddy, you want me to go in there and drop kick him?
I think I could probably get up to his ankles, Mancini.
Well, that's higher than I can get.
Mancini, I saw you perform a pretty impressive drop kick against Playboy Buddy Rose, where you went off the ropes and also did the reverse body press. Pretty impressive, Mancini. You think I don't watch that shit, huh?
Everything's impressive when you're 24 years old, Big Daddy.
What are you trying to say, Mancini?
Well, I was, I can't do that anymore,
Listen, I saw you recently at Diesel Mania. Listen, but don't cut yourself short. And the key word there with you or measurement is half. But I don't want to get too crazy here,
Daddy,
Mancini.
don't go there with my 2 thumbs. Go ahead.
I don't want to go. Listen, I saw you in the last 12 months, 24 months, 2 years at the Mohegan Sun in the ring with Zachariah Gibbs. In the Battle Royal with Big Steve Tracy against the Meadowlands Monster and all that competition at Diesel Mania 3. You're not, as Toby Keith once sang, you're not as good as you once were, but you're good as once as you ever were.
Yeah, I could take that.
Okay, Mancini? And that includes in the sack, too, Mancini. So we're going to turn this over briefly because Perez is about ready to go off the rails here because we are way over time, Paul Perez. We're at about 98,000 minutes here on this podcast, episode 8. From the Diadamo and Tracy Bagel Bond studio at the Paradise Alley Professional Wrestling Training Facility. January 5th, homecoming for Impact. This is where Mancini goes to sleep. And I want to briefly, because we didn't have a lot of time, because this show, what we talked about prior with Mean Gene and this issue with Paradise Alley is much more important than what's coming up. But Impact, homecoming, January 5th. Break it down because the main event is Johnny Morrison and Brian Cage. Break it down briefly, kid.
Well, John Morrison, Johnny Impact. We've talked.
Well, Johnny Impact, Johnny Mundo, Johnny Hannigan, whatever the fuck his name is. He's unbelievable, though. Mancini, do you want to step off stage for a second? What are you trying to do here? You're giving the kid 2 microphones.
What's Impact?
Impact is the former TNA, the former version of WCW. Listen, probably one of the best companies that's on the rise right now, professional wrestling, next to WWE and Ring of Honor and New Japan. Impact is unbelievable. The main event, Johnny Morrison and Brian Cage.
Those two. Hopefully Brian Cage doesn't snap Morrison in half.
Well, listen, Brian Cage is unbelievable. Also, LAX defends the tag team titles against the Lucha Brothers, Pentagon Jr. and Phoenix. Now, you know the Guardian of Chaos has a long history with LAX, especially Homicide 187. Blah! So break it down, kid.
Break it down? I think I keep trying to say Morrison because I'm so used to him being Morrison.
You call him whatever you want. Angelo, get your ass over here. Get in the podcast for 30 seconds. Let's go. You got 30 seconds. Perez is going to kick the shit out of you. Get over here. Hey, Angelo's a good kid, all kidding aside, man. He's got some nice hair, bro. LAX Lucha Brothers, so he can sit in briefly for the Impact. Listen, kid, you ought to sit down and kiss the ground that we walk on to be on this fucking podcast, bro. Major exposure with a former veteran and one of the top 10 performers as what they wanted to call enhancement talent, which he fucking hates. In the WWE encyclopedia, if I said that correctly, Mario Mancini.
Now
Those
he
are
takes
big
enhancement
shoes.
talent.
Listen, take away the looks, the charm, the money. Mancini reminds me a lot of George Clooney. Anyway, you guys don't even know who that is.
I know who he is.
LAX Lucha Brothers for the tag titles. And here's another big one, kid. Ultimate X, 4 poles, steel cables, no ladders. Break down the talent. We got to go through this quick.
Talent, right? Well, I'm not going to be watching because the kid's going to be in Baltimore for a Chargers and Ravens playoff game.
And you are a huge Chargers fan. Kid, and I'm going to say this, and I always say it, and I don't care if you're tired of it, folks. You're busier than a blow-up doll at a frat party.
Always am. Then next Saturday, they start at $100, but
$100.
I'll be paying a pretty penny to sit down by the field.
So let's run this down. You're at the Hammerstein Ballroom, Madison Square Garden, Baltimore to see the Chargers.
And then next Saturday, I'm leaving for Florida again.
Whatever happened to that trip from Bangkok?
Bangkok? I don't know. We might be stopping in Siesta Key.
I love Siesta Key. We have a lot of fans in Siesta Key.
We do.
Anzo, lean up to the mic and say hello to Mario Chaos and the Kid podcast. Say something. Put yourself in the mic.
What's going on, everybody?
Welcome to the... Angelo, what do you have to say, kid? Speak up to the mic, kid. Grab it like you grab your pecker. Yeah, that's what I said.
What, you been watching me?
I've been watching you. Well, listen, it's good to have you here from Open Table Sports Podcast, and I'm going to bring you in on the discussion. Rich Swann, Jake Christ, Ethan Page, and Trey Miguel from the Rascals and that Ultimate X. But here's another one that I'm interested in because they're unbelievable. Back to what we've been talking about this whole podcast for the championship. Tessa Blanchard and Taya Valkyrie. Gail Kim is the special guest referee. Break it down, Onslow, kid.
Those are obviously on the podcast. We talk about them being the upper echelon of women's wrestling, and I'm glad they're doing their best work together. But they're two of the best, and Valkyrie obviously working with Impact because they're together, so that she has some of the moves that he does.
La Vida Loca, Taya Valkyrie.
Yeah, but they're two of the best, and I'm sure they're going to put on a show like they did last time.
In my opinion, you talk about Asuka, Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, all the different stars and Impact, the knockouts and all that. To me, Tessa Blanchard, Taya Valkyrie are at the top of the food chain.
Two of the best.
Sami Callihan from OVE against Willie Mack, the Chocolate Juggalo, who also worked and appeared for Paradise Alley Professional Wrestling. What do you think of that one?
Isn't that one Falls Count anywhere?
I believe that is, that could be the Moose and Eddie Edwards match,
That might be
which
the
is
one.
Falls
I know
Count
there's,
anywhere.
I know there's a Falls Count anywhere.
That's another
match
great
on it.
matchup.
Yeah, since I haven't watched any episodes lately for Impact because we've been doing Thursday shows now with the holidays.
Did you see my video with Eddie Edwards and Jay Lethal?
I have not.
I sent it to you, kid. Don't start being like Mancini.
The amount of videos you send me, I wouldn't even be able to show up here
Well,
tonight.
I
if
just
kept
want to
watching
show
them.
you what the Guardian of Chaos was up to.
I've seen
Anyway,
your
let's
work, Big
move
Daddy.
on. Let's move on. We're talking about January 5th, homecoming fans. Jordan Grace and Kiera Hogan against Allie and Sue Young. The Zombies. Allie has now turned heel. An unbelievable grappler. Again, what we're talking about here, female wrestling. Unbelievable grapplers and competitors and talent. Some of the best athletes.
Impact is putting on better women's wrestling than WWE at
Jordan
this point.
Grace is unbelievable.
Better
Listen,
talent, better booking.
she is thick as fuck, and I will say that, but man, can that girl wrestle. Dude, she benches like over 200 pounds and squats, Perez, like 350 pounds. She's headed for stardom, and she already's in Impact. She'll end up with Vince. You watch.
Oh, she will.
Also, kid, and I'm doing your whole job here for you.
Well, for Impact, yeah, because I haven't watched the past 2 weeks.
Monsters Ball, my personal and good friend, although he fucked me up, the Monster Abyss against Eli Drake, and I believe Raven will be making a cameo. Monsters Ball.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not too psyched about this one. About
Listen,
this upcoming
Abyss just
event.
went into the Impact Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He did. But then he made an appearance. Which one did he make an appearance at? their last event for Impact in New York, the Melrose Ballroom.
Yes.
He made an appearance there.
Listen, I had a chance to meet him, kid, a couple of times and work with him. He's unbelievable.
Some people got to have their time to step away, but we'll see what he could do. So.
Listen, Abyss has a lot left in the gas tank. He's one of the best big men in this business. He could still get in that ring and perform. There's no two ways about it. And you'll see at Homecoming. You know what's tomorrow before we start to wrap things up? Because next week, I guess, we'll talk about the breaking news of AEW All Elite Wrestling. Mm-hmm. Listen, Tony Khan, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Double or Nothing pay-per-view that's going to follow up for All In, Cody, Jericho, the Young Bucks. Who knows what's going to happen with
Goldberg.
Omega? Who?
Goldberg,
maybe? See,
Goldberg.
kid, you got so many sources. You have to outsource your sources.
Always.
And what's tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night.
Listen, unless the Guardian of Chaos has got it messed up again.
What's tomorrow night, Big Daddy?
I believe Kenny Omega in New Japan Professional Wrestling is
Kingdom.
defending his title. Wrestle Kingdom 13 tomorrow night.
Wrestle Kingdom tomorrow night. Yeah, but that stuff goes on at like 2 in the morning.
Well, you don't go to bed till 4. You sleep till 1, just like Onslow. You got the life of Riley. And Perez, they don't even know what that means, the life of Riley.
We were talking about that, 2 weeks ago? But I'll probably buy it later when I wake up at the crack of noon. But
kid, I will say each and every podcast you've gotten better and better. And now I
best.
know who carries the Open Table Sports podcast. Angelo's been sitting here. He's privileged.
The kid in the cream team.
The kid in the cream team. That sounds like a hell of a show.
It does sound like a hell of a show.
Kid, we're way over the rails. Perez is about ready to throw me into the ring and give me one of his pirouette elbows, which I do not want to experience.
I think Mancini left.
No, Mancini's underneath the ring, I think. He might be underneath there with Kim Chi, because I did see Mancini's match against the giant Kamala, the legend, and I think Kim Chi was somewhere around. But anyway, this is the 8th edition of Mario and the Chaos podcast featuring the kid. Angelo, it's time for you to get up and get the fuck out. You brought nothing to the table. Although we love you, kid.
Well, this isn't the open table.
It's not the open table.
It's not the open table.
All kidding aside, we love Angelo. We're glad we had him down here as one of our guests and to be able to experience this. Mancini's back on the set. We're well over an hour. Mancini, we're about ready to wrap up episode
Big Daddy,
8.
I'm just going to tell you this, not for my own sake, because I feel embarrassed and stupid by saying this, but if I tell you this when we get off the air, you're going to be mad at me.
What?
Well, since you're not on Facebook...
No, and I refuse to be.
Unbeknownst to me, I didn't know this was happening, but I hit a status from In Your Head Wrestling, and I've been inducted into the In Your Head Wrestling Podcast Hall of Fame.
Is this breaking news?
I listen, like I said, I'm very humble about it and thankful, but I know you like to know that stuff.
Because I like to be what, Mancini? Kept in the loop. And I'm going to say this, and maybe we'll wrap up episode 8 unless the kid has something to say. In Your Head Wrestling and the In Your Head podcast is one of the best podcasts I've heard in the last 5 years. Listen, you have Dave Meltzer out there. You got the kids' boy Sean Ross Sapp from Fightful. You got my boy JD from New York 206. But there's nothing like Mario Chaos and the Kid podcast. There's a lot of people out there. Busted Open Radio, Mancini. We're off the rails. Finish it up.
With that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you
forgot
next.
What the fuck I was saying?
We'll see you next week on Mario Chaos and the Kids Show, and we promise we'll be back in character and as funny as ever. Just a little tired this week, a little stressful, and very unfortunate events. But for my friends there in Central New York, we're going to make that wrong right. So until next week, we'll see you.